Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Deserts of Plenty. My name is Ralph. Deserts of Plenty is a podcast that I created because I became somewhat frustrated with finding the answers to questions. Right now we live in a world that is full of information, but knowledge is very hard to come by. And not my quote, but Nicholas Taleb in his book, The Black Swan, made the comment that when it comes to newspapers, which he stopped reading, the more you read, the less you know. And that's, I think, 100% true. I think that's, the more media you consume, the less you know. And that's not just with newspapers. Like, if you want to find out information about nutrition, the more you read, the less you'll know. If you want to find out information about COVID vaccines, the more you read, the less you know. And it just pains me because it feels like you have to become an expert in everything in order to know what's best. The institutions, they used to be set up to serve our interests, cough, cough, like, I don't know, the education system, now have been overrun by politics, or money, but different agendas, and power structures, which I will definitely do a podcast on very soon. But so that was one of the things. And then also we are awash in calories, but nutrition, very difficult. There are people who probably eat 4,000 calories a day and are malnourished. Malnourished, not in obviously the amount of calories and energy that they have, but in getting vital nutrients. And similarly, we are awash in experiences. You can pick up your phone and have someone deliver food to your door within 10, 15, 20 minutes. Online dating has made people so disposable that despite having hundreds of people at your fingertips, everybody's lonely and depressed and very skeptical and, have a sometimes dim view of humanity for people who online date. And I talk to people who online date and they're all, I hear the same thing from, I think, the majority of people, which is every once in a while I have to get off here because I start to feel awful. And that's true. So we were awash in experiences, but real connection, finding our people. I heard this other statistic the other day. I don't know how accurate it really is, but it certainly fits what I see, which is something like 80% of adult males, I think over 40, do not have a close friend. And while I have many friends, and I have people I consider good friends, I don't think it would fit the definition of a close friend, like someone, that I would call if I were having a bad time. I think if I were having like a real sad time about something, and based on my previous life experience, this is borne out, I wouldn't go talk to people. I would go for long walks by myself without any kind of phone or headphones, but I would just go and walk and work it out by myself. And only incidentally would I talk to friends about what's really going on, which is a contrast to, in my life, 2 decades ago, when I had, people that I would consider very close friends that I would have and did talk to at length about terrible things that were happening in my life. And those friends really saved me. I mean, saved me. I don't want to be like melodramatic, but they certainly, at a very dark time in my life, being able to talk to friends about what was going on in my life, and those friends that listened without judgment and didn't offer, solutions to my problems, but just listened. That was incredibly valuable. And I try to do that for other people now, like listen without judgment and without offering solutions. Because in my experience, when someone's upset, like they've just been dumped, the last thing they want to hear is there's plenty of fish in the sea. You'll be fine. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear like, yeah, you're right. so-and-so was a real jerk. They're going to be so upset that they dumped you. That's what you want to hear. You want people to empathize with you and tell you you're not crazy to feel that way. But we gaslight people all the time. It comes from a good place. We want people to feel better. We'd like to stop the discomfort that's happening because it feels awkward to talk about feelings sometimes. But, good friends, that's what we want. Someone to listen to us without reservation. Anyway, that's the podcast. That's why it's happening. As much for me to sort of figure out what's going on as anything. So today, I'm sort of obsessed with, becoming better as a human being, like myself, like in improving, in small ways every day, and then make small changes. And then over time, small changes become big changes. There's that, quote about, if you leave, I'll change the two Canadian cities because I'm Canadian. If you leave Vancouver and you're heading towards Toronto, say, but if you leave Vancouver and then just go 1 degree south, you'll probably wind up in New York or even south of that. So that small change at the beginning, spread over time and distance, becomes huge changes. And so that's what I'm all about, is incremental development. Small changes and just get a little bit better, a little bit better, and a little bit better. And part of that is the physical. So like physical, spiritual, and mental. That's my 3 things, mind, body, and spirit. However you like to put those. I like to increase and get better at all 3, make each one of those better, stronger, more fulfilled, because I think that you're only as strong as the weakest of those 3. Right. And they work together, the mind, the body, and the spirit. What's going on in your mind, if it's not in balance, will manifest in your body. Like I think of the people I know in my life who are, shall we say, narcissistic, and the ones that I know intimately are all sick. They all have diseases. Now, I'm not here to absolutely say that these are manifested in their body because they're out of balance, but maybe I am. I don't know. I'm not whatever. I'm not magic, but it seems odd to me that that's the case, that they're all sick, with chronic, metabolic diseases. So today, what I want to talk about is a physical thing, which will also helps mentally and helps spiritually. This has been my experience. So, what I want to talk about today are 4 things that you can do that are zero cost or low cost. And when I scan the literature, and I do read some scientific papers, I have a background in science. I was a medical researcher for a number of years. I have a degree in immunology, an undergraduate degree, BSc, but a degree in immunology. If you Google me and go into PubMed, I am on scientific papers. I didn't write a word of them, but I'm listed as an author because I did some of the research that led to the publication of those papers. And now I've totally lost my train of thought. Oh, that's embarrassing. So these are 4 low cost or no cost ways that you can go out and help yourself. And yes, that's what I was saying. That, when I scan the literature or when I listen to people who have become, I guess, have a public profile, but are researchers like Peter Attia and Dr. Peter Attia and Dr. Andrew Huberman, people like that, these are things they all agree upon. And I haven't seen anyone say anything different. Like if you were to talk to nutritionists, we got 10 nutritionists in a room and started asking like proper diet, is fat bad or good? Are carbohydrates bad or good? You're going to get probably 10 different answers, if you go really in depth. But what I'm trying to stick to right now are 4 things that you can do that pretty much everybody agrees upon. And further, not only do they agree upon them, but according to Peter Attia, at least, if you do these 4 things, and I don't want to misquote him, but, his quote, and I am going to mangle it, but I am sort of not directly quoting it, but paraphrasing, is, his whole thing is like, don't talk to me about supplementation, or weird things you can do, supplementation, I guess, being the big one, until you can do some basic things. And and his thing is, if you fix sort of these big problems, that's 90% of health span and lifespan, and maybe 10% is the rest of it. 100 years ago, the average life expectancy was 30 years less than it is now in this part of the world. And the majority of that gain has come down to 3 things: sanitation and water purification as one, vaccination, and antibiotics. So all of our fancy MRI machines and drugs and pharmaceuticals and all of that is just a very small amount of it. The vast majority is some technologies that have been around, for quite some time, and are really for everybody. So similarly in these 4 things. So what are the 4 things? So number 1, and these are in no particular order. Number 1, hydration. As just a general quick and dirty rule, 2 liters of water a day. That's 8-ounce glasses, about 64 ounces, or 5 12-ounce glasses of water a day. Now you do get water in your food, and so you don't really need to drink that much, but it's a good sort of starting point. And I used to get, in the wintertime, terribly dry skin. I don't anymore. I used to have to like lather my entire body with cream, with skin cream, just to stop the itching that I had. I don't do that anymore. It's gone. As well as the cracking and the flaking of my skin. It's gone. So a lot of things come down to dehydration. Even some of the crashing that we have in the afternoon is dehydration. Your body is mostly water, and hydrating it helps all these processes go on. It does so much. It helps your skin. You look younger. You feel better. You don't get tired as easily. And that's a 0 cost way that you can help your body better. It also helps flush out things like uric acid, a lot of impurities. I know a lot of people go on cleanses. Well, drinking water is a good way to cleanse your body of a lot of things, because a lot of stuff goes out through your kidneys. And if you're constantly urinating, you're gonna get rid of a lot of stuff. Could help prevent things from gout to kidney stones. So it's great. You can, of course, drink too much water. Oh, and I should say, because I have to, that I'm not a doctor and I'm not giving anybody advice. This is just for information purposes only. These are things that I have seen that there's almost no debate upon, right? Everybody seems to agree with these 4 things. And if you do these 4 things, you'll go a long way towards improving your health. That's what it is. But I'm not saying do them. And if you do some of them, like when I get to exercise, check with your doctor, please. I am not a doctor. And even if I were, I'm not your doctor. And even if I were your doctor, ultimately your health goes down to you. Sorry. And that sucks, because of what I was saying before, it's so hard to get good information. There is no place now to go and get the right information, because, in my opinion, a lot of the things set up to protect us are now corrupted by money or politics or other things. Anyway, so drink ample amounts of water, 2 liters of water a day. Generally, the heavier you are, the more water you take. There's a formula. You can easily Google it. I am a, 72 kilo guy, and I drink about 2.5 liters of water a day, plus the water in my food. And I do that pretty much every day. I have 2-liter bottles of water, fill them in the morning, drink them by the night, or I fill them at night. They stay in the fridge and they're cold in the morning. Although there's some things about drinking cold water. Also, don't chug your water. Drink it slowly throughout the day. Better. All right. Number two, adequate sleep. And not just adequate sleep, it's sleep hygiene. So, I have made my bedroom completely dark. I've hung a big sound curtain and black curtain over the window. And so my bedroom is not only very quiet at night, but it's so dark that if I wake up in the middle of the night, open my eyes, there's no difference between my eyes open or closed. That's how dark it is. Because even small amounts of light you don't think are a problem are enough to disrupt your sleep. It's just so different from how we spent the vast majority of our time evolving on this planet. And early sleep is good. I never thought I would go to sleep at 10:30 and wake up at 6 in the morning, but that's generally what I do now. And I love it. It took me a while. Again, it didn't happen overnight. Ha ha, pun intended. It took some time. But now getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, the nice thing is that time is mine. No one else is up. No one's emailing me. So that's the time I get a lot of work done. And by the time I get my daughter ready for school at 8:15, I got, a good chunk of my work done, if not the majority of my work done for the day. So I love that time. And I wake up and I feel so good. I love it. Number three, move your body. This doesn't mean you have to go to the gym and, spend a lot of money on a membership. And while I'm on the subject of exercising, do not exercise to lose weight. It's not going to happen. Sorry. It's a myth that you can go out and get on a treadmill and run, 30 minutes and that'll work off the donut you're going to have at lunch. It won't, and I'll go into that in another podcast, but basically, move your body. Right now, it used to be run, and now the science says zone 2, which is brisk walking or walking with purpose, like 5 kilometers an hour, 3 miles an hour. Walking so that your heart rate gets up a little bit, so that you can hear your breathing, but you're not out of breath. You can have a conversation, but that zone 2, do that for like 150 minutes a week. That's, 10, 15 minutes here and there, walk to the grocery store, walk around the block. It's so important to just move your body. Also carrying things. Again, you don't have to go to the gym necessarily and push a lot of weight around, but resistance training is important if you can do it. But you can do that by carrying loads, carrying heavy things. When was the last time you jumped? This kind of stuff. Like it's mimicking sort of the physical stuff that we did, our ancestors did before the advent of farming. Like that's kind of what we're focusing on. So we've got hydration, we've got sleep, we've got moving your body, and the other one is nutrition. As Michael Pollan says, eat things that your grandmother would recognize as food, or your great grandmother, or someone else's great grandmother from a different culture, but whole foods. Go to the grocery store, stay on the outside, eat things that have one ingredient. Don't buy things in bags and boxes in cans. Don't buy things with a symbol on them, like the scanning code symbol on them. Or if you read the ingredients, you don't recognize something, don't buy it. Carrageenan, which is in ice cream, is a thing, is probably pretty bad for us, for our microbiomes. So eating whole foods. I'm going to do a whole podcast on eating whole foods too. But, again, things that your grandmother would recognize as food. And I understand that that's more expensive. And that's the one that's problematic. Although there are, cheaper solutions, but, to stay away from sugar, like table sugar, fructose, especially like, the fructose that's added to food. A lot of foods have added fructose, because even though and then they cover that with salt. So even though you can't taste the sweetness on your tongue, your stomach can sense that. And so it will send a signal through your brain, through the vagus nerve, to get more of that. So that's why food chemists will add fructose to food to encourage you to eat more of it. Sucks, man. I hate that. But they do it because it's not illegal. And since fructose is natural, it's not seen as problematic. We do a whole podcast on the dose is the poison, not the actual thing. And that's very true. So those 4 things are things that you can go and do. They are low cost or no cost. They will improve your health immeasurably. And then once you do those things, then according to Peter Attia, then you can talk about like, supplements, whether you should take vitamin D, whether you should take fish oil, magnesium, all these things, athletic greens, whatever it is you want to take. But do those 4 things first. All right. Well, that's it for today. I've hit my 20-minute max time, so I'm going to sign off now. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you here next time for Deserts of Plenty.